time because of the connection. So hello everyone, I welcome you all to the first lecture of the course Experimental Methods in Thermal Engineering. The course code for the same is ME604, and in this very first lecture I will first introduce you to the course, and then at the end we will try to see the need of experiments with the help of few examples. Okay, and what I will be doing, so this is our very first lecture of the course. Here I will not start the content into much details. Rather, we will discuss about the need of experiments and as a whole what we will be studying in this course. Okay. So particularly this session will be interactive where I'll be posing some questions. You people will be just replying to these questions and we will be going in a discussion mode. And from the next lecture onwards, we will be going in a completely different manner. So there I'll be first delivering the things from my side, and once my delivery is completed, then we will start the discussion. So what you can do from the next lecture onwards, while I am delivering certain things, and if you are having any confusions, you can note it down or you can just type it in the chat box. Okay. So once the delivery is completed from my side, then we will discuss all these things at the end of the lecture. Okay, so this will be the format from second lecture onwards. However, in today's session, because we want to first uh, have some basic idea of experimentation and what is the need for studying this course, so that's why we will be going in a interactive manner. Okay, so course code, you have to note it down. So this is the important thing, ME604. This will be used for our further references. And today's lecture, we will be discussing about introduction to the course, what are the textbooks, what is the content uh, which we will be dealing in this course. And at the end of this lecture, I'll also discuss about the need of experiments in general. Okay, so already you know about myself. I'll be teaching this course, and with me there will be two teaching assistants for this course. One is M. Nikhil Matthew. He's a MS student in School of Engineering, and another will be Rahul Kumar Mandal. He is a PhD student. Okay. Then this is the syllabus of the course. So in this course, if you see, we will be having 3 lectures and one tutorial. Sorry, no tutorial, and there is no practical session. So credits for the course uh, are 3, but as this semester is short, so instead of 3 lectures per week, I'll be going with 4 lectures per week, and we'll try to see that if we are having some significant portion remaining, then in the last few weeks we will also go for the 5 lectures per week. Okay, so now let me first describe about the syllabus of the course. So syllabus of the course, I have already uploaded it on the Moodle as well. So the very first module we are having for fundamentals of experiments. Okay, so in this very first module, we will first discuss about the importance of measurement and experimentation. Then uh, what do we understand from calibration, what is uncertainty analysis, error propagation, then what are the different statistical ways for analyzing the experimental data. For example, what is Gaussian or normal distribution, confidence level in experiments, and regression analysis, etc. While say we are having some set of experimental data which is obtained, then what different ways we can employ for analyzing that data. Then second module, as per the syllabus, it is mentioned as pressure measurement. But before the pressure measurement, because if you go with the title of the course, it says experimental techniques in thermal engineering. And particularly in thermal problems, we are having very important association of the fluids. Okay, so wherever we study about the thermal system, we will be finding that everywhere we will be having association of the fluids. So now if we talk about fluids, there are very fundamental properties of the fluid which defines their behavior and which in turn governs our system response. Okay. So what are the different fundamental properties of the fluid? For example, density of the fluid, viscosity of the fluid, and if we are having association of two or more fluids, then we will be having interfacial tension or surface tension between the fluids also. Okay. So directly before going for pressure measurement, first I will talk about measurement of the fluidic properties. So for fluidic properties, in between I am adding immediately after fundamentals, we will be discussing the techniques for measurement of density, viscosity, and surface tension. Okay, so density, viscosity, and third important property when we are having the association of multiple phases, we'll talk about measurement of surface tension also. Okay, and after that, uh, then we will go for the pressure measurement. And from your basic understanding of fluid mechanics, you might be knowing about manometers, Bourdon tube, pressure gauge, diaphragm gauge, etc. So we will discuss about all these pressure measurement techniques in detail. Okay. And then we will discuss about the flow measurement. So particularly once again from the basic understanding of fluid mechanics, you might be knowing about positive displacement flow meters, Venturi meters, orifice meters. But apart from this, we are having very special flow measurement devices also, which are used particularly in the laboratory setups as well as for the when the experimental facilities are designed for the uh, research applications. Okay, so these also we will try to see, and then at the end of this module, we will also study some of the advanced flow measurement techniques such as laser Doppler anemometer, flow visualization techniques, for example, shadowgraph, slurring, and interferometers, etc. Okay. Then after the flow measurement is completed, then we'll devote few lectures on measurement of temperatures, and we'll try to see the different ways of temperature measurement. And finally, we will talk about the measurement of thermal conductivity. Okay, so thermal conductivity is a very important property because as I already told you, over here we are dealing with the fluid thermal system. So when we talk about thermal, we are having temperature field and flow of heat. So flow of heat is something which depends upon the thermal conductivity. So we should also know about the different techniques which are employed for measurement of thermal conductivity. Okay, and then at the end we will try to see the data acquisition and post processing tools. So what are the different tools and what are the different techniques available? Okay, and ultimately we will also try to have some discussion on designing the experiments. For example, if you have to design some experimental setup for your research problem or for proving some theory or to start some new or to develop some new prototype, so then what are the things which you have to take care of, how many experiments are to be done, what should be the physical parameters which are need to be considered, so that we will try to see. Okay, apart from this designing of experiments, we will also try to see a few parameters. For example, one of the important discussion we will be doing on the optical measurement techniques, and these optical measurements we will try to particularly see for the multi-phase flow experiments. Okay, so for example, interface reconstruction probes, etc. we will be studying over here. And one important thing I will be discussing about over here that will be related to image processing. Okay, so many times when we go for flow visualization, we do the high speed photography of many fluidic behaviors. So when we are obtaining the high speed photographs, how we have to acquire or infer the data from this high speed photographs. So for that we are having certain image processing techniques that also we will try to see in this course. Okay, so this is about the content of the course. Anyone is having any confusion which you want to discuss at this point? Okay, all of you are able to clearly see the slides, or is there any visualization issue with the slides?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, so this is all about the syllabus of the course. Then these are certain reference books which you can refer. So the first book, Experimental Methods for Engineers, by J.P. Holman. This is the main book for this course. Whole content is designed based on this book. So I'll be following this book for majority of the sections, and few additional things I have mentioned over here. In addition to the syllabus, for example, measurement of fundamental properties, density, viscosity, and surface tension, etc. For these, I'll be following this second book, Springer Handbook of Experimental Fluid Mechanics. And then there are two more books which I have referred over here. So these are nothing but general books for measurements and experimentation in engineering. So these two books also you can refer for certain topics. Okay. Now, let me talk about the prerequisite of this course. So, for the understanding of this course, you should have sound knowledge of fluid mechanics, then thermodynamics, and heat transfer. Okay, so these are the fundamental subjects in the field of thermal engineering. So, you should have good knowledge of these three subjects while and that will be helpful while we will be going through the content of this course. Okay. Then let me now talk about the very important component of the course, that is evaluation scheme. Okay, so this is something which you have to note it down. So you can note it down somewhere, or I'll also be uploading these slides for your reference on the Moodle. And already, if you see on the Moodle, I have already uploaded the course content, textbooks, and evaluation scheme on Moodle as well. Okay, and today itself, I'll be uploading the PDF version of these slides. Okay. So what we are having, so we will be having assignments. So we may have multiple assignments, and overall 20 marks are given for assignments. So what I will be doing over here, that I may give you 5 to 7 number of assignments, different number of assignments. So you have to submit all. Now I'll be deciding at the end that which one or two will be evaluated. So at max 2 assignments will be evaluated, or it may be the case that out of all whatever I'll be giving 5 to 7, or say 7 to 10 assignments, out of these only one is being evaluated. But which one will be evaluated, that I'll be deciding at the end, and you have to submit all. Okay. Then second important component I have included over here is project component. So let me see, now the content of the course is experimental method. So obviously, if you people would have been in campus, I would have given you some experimental, asked to fabricate some prototype, etc., or to do some experimentation in the laboratory. But in the present scenario, it will not be possible to physically demonstrate on some prototype. So what I will be doing over here, either from the literature or from already obtained experimental data, I'll try to analyze you few things and prepare some small writer in the form of technical writing. So for that, we will be having 15 marks. And apart from that, we will be having one quiz. So already as per the academic calendar, you know the dates for the quiz. So we will be having a quiz with a weightage of 20 marks. And then in order to make it 100, final exam will be of 45 minutes. Okay. So anyone is having any issue with the evaluation scheme, or any confusion you want to get clarified?
Sir, will the quiz be MCQ type or subjective?
Can you repeat once again?
Will the quiz be objective or subjective type?
Okay, will the course be objective or subjective? What's your
Quiz.
quiz? Okay, so that I'll be deciding. So it will be mostly subjective only. There may be a few questions of objective type, but majority of the content will be subjective only. Any other query? Okay, so if you are not having any query, let me go further. Okay, so this is all about in general about the course. Now let me start with the basic need of experimentation. Okay, so my first question is, what is the need for doing experiments? Anyone would like to answer? What is the need for doing experiments? Do we really need to do experiments, or there are sufficient computational or analytical techniques available to get certain conclusions? So what is the need for experiments?
Sir, validation.
Validation.
Validation of analytical and computational methods.
Okay.
To take
Anything?
real life feeling of any methodology.
Sorry, can you repeat?
To take real life feel of any methodology.
Okay. Okay.
And usually for numerical methods, we require conditions, initial condition, boundary condition. Sometimes we are not clear about those. So we can do some experimental experiments to fabricate our results.
Okay, okay, okay. So you have all have attempted to answer something. So let me just explain. So when we go for any research problem, so when we are doing research, so particularly one thing is already known to you that when we are going for research, it means something we are trying to do which is new, which is innovative, which has not been done earlier. Okay. So if we see, there are two branches of research. First one is fundamental research and second one is applied research. So for example, in fundamental research, what people does, people try to propose some theories or some hypothesis they will be giving. And in applied research, what generally one wants to do, one wants to develop some prototype or some device for doing certain tasks. Okay, so here development of prototypes is the main purpose. So now when in fundamental research, based on some analytical understanding or mathematical analysis or laws of physics, when some theory is developed, it is always necessary to validate that theory. Okay. So for fundamental experiments, we have to, for fundamental research, the need of experimentation is to validate the theories which are proposed from the theoretical research. And in case of applied research, what will be the objective? In case of applied research, the objective will be to develop certain prototype for achieving some desired task. Okay, so for that also experimentation is required, because what experiments involve, when we are developing certain prototype, we will be having the large number of factors associated with that process. So we have to optimize uh, different physical quantities which are associated, and then we have to utilize these physical quantities in order to get some fruitful output or our desired objectives. Okay, so that is something which we generally say the need of experimentation. Now, one important point one has to remember, that from outside if you see, experiment appears to be a very easy task. Okay, so that is a common thinking. Anyone would like to comment on it? Why? Whenever you see, so you will be finding that experiment appears to be that it's a very easy task. Okay, you will be finding that okay, someone has connected this device for temperature measurement, that device for heat flux measurement, that device for pressure measurement. So nothing he is doing, he is just connecting the multiple things and then just obtaining the data. Okay, so it may give that kind of wrong feeling. But experiments are not easy. That is one important point which you have to remember, that experiments are not easy. Many times when new students they try to decide their research problem, they feel that okay, computational research or analytical research is very mathematical. They need to write codes, they need to learn coding, mathematics, etc. So it means they are tempted towards going for experimental research, that okay, in experiment physically we will be connecting multiple things, and the things will be clearly visible to them what is happening. We will be purchasing one equipment from one firm, another equipment from some another company, and we will be combining and getting the final results. Okay, but experiment is not only to record data. So that is something which is, we can call it as recording of data. But experiment is not only to record data. Okay, whether one important point I would like to mention over here, that experiments are to be done very carefully. Okay, why? Because if I see, let me take a very simple example of an IC engine. So all of you know about IC engine because you all are mechanical engineers. So I think you all know about IC engines. So what is the objective of IC engine? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of an
Produce work.
to get work? Yes. So, or in other words, we can say that to convert one form of energy, say our heat energy, into the work energy, and that heat energy is also basically nothing but coming from the energy stored within the fuel. Okay, so if you try to see, let me just give certain input parameters to IC engine and certain output parameters which we are getting on the right hand side. Okay, so what are the different output parameters? So the very first thing is we get some work output, mechanical work output from an IC engine. Okay, and what are the input parameters? Can you tell one by one?
Fuel.
Energy content in fuel.
So for example, very first important parameter is fuel. Now while we are taking the fuel, we have to decide that okay, what is the energy content in fuel? Then what else?
Air.
Air, because
Oxidizer.
we have to do the combustion, so we are having air. Then
Mm, Sir, how are we going to start the ignition or mechanism for that?
yes, so we will be having so many control systems which will be controlling the different processes. Then we will be having certain cooling mechanism, and in the output, so this is our main output, but as a byproduct we will be also getting some
Emission, exhaust.
exhaust gases.
Yes.
Okay, so over here if you try to see, in this engine what we are having the large number of parameters are involved, and thermodynamically if we see, so what are the physical quantities which we have to maintain? The physical quantities which we have to maintain are nothing but pressure, temperature, then volume. So all the thermodynamic properties, whatever we could think of, we have to control all these thermodynamic properties within some certain range. So we require the control on all these thermodynamic properties, because when we will be having these in controlled fashion, then only we will be able to get some useful output, desired output, and ensure that our system is reliable, it is having a long life. So all these things. So it means when we are talking about the fuel, we have to be very careful about air fuel ratio. We have to be very careful about cooling mechanism, that what should be the mass flow rate of the cooling water, then we have to be very careful about exhaust gases, that how much amount of exhaust gases is actually or how harmful are the exhaust gases. Can we directly send them to the our ambient, or we have to do certain post processing of these exhaust gases in order to make these less harmful for the environment. Okay, so now from here you can see that how many large number of parameters are involved. Over here also I have listed a very few. Okay, so because if you go into the very detailed design of the engine, you will be finding large number of valves, camshaft are there for matching the timings of the engine. Then spark plug is there if your engine is spark ignition. Then there is fuel injector if your engine is compression ignition. So it means that large number of parameters are involved. Okay, so it's not an easy task. Now let me once again start with a very fundamental problem. So what I will be doing, let us consider that we are having some container. So this is a container, and in this container, say on the left side we are having some metallic plate. This one, number 1, I am writing it. And on right side also we are having another metallic plate which I am writing as number 2. And in between these two metallic plates, let us consider that we are having any fluid in between. Okay, and over here say this plate is maintained at temperature T1 and this another plate is maintained at temperature T2. Okay, now if say my L is length of the plate, and if I fix the origin at this left extreme of this arrangement, so say my X is varying in this direction. Now because we are having different temperature on the left face of this fluid and on the right face of this fluid, so obviously we will be having certain heat transfer over here. So say my objective is to find out the temperature profile. So temperature versus X plot I have to determine. Say I want to determine it experimentally. Now if I have to do it experimentally, obviously what I need to do? I need to put some thermocouples over here. Now can anyone answer? Say I am representing thermocouple with the help of a thermometer over here. So let me write this as nothing but my thermometer. So can anyone answer that if experimentally I have this type of system and I have to determine the temperature profile, how many thermometers or thermocouples we have to mount on this experimental setup? So anyone would like to answer how many thermocouples will be serving the purpose if I have to determine the temperature profile as function of length?
Sir,
So
as many as possible will be good, but then if we can have it break the whole length into maybe 3 or 4 parts and then interpolate, then we can get a good profile.
okay, anyone would like to change the answer from as many as possible?
One can also suffice, like you can change the x coordinate of the thermometer to get the temperature.
So means you want to vary the location of the thermocouple with X.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other answer? Okay, so now let me explain. So the first question, first answer was that over this entire length, I can have large number of thermocouples as much as we can accommodate. Okay, that is the first thing. And second answer has come that over this entire length, I can take only one thermocouple and then I can vary its location. Now, the first one is having very immediate drawback of cost, complexity, because over here what will be happening if you are using large number of thermocouples, obviously you will be having you have to spend more, and your system will be becoming very complex, because you have to obtain the data from each and every thermocouple. And the second answer which we have got, so over here, as per the second answer, we have to use one thermocouple and then we have to move it along the X. But this one is having a drawback, that if our process is transient, transient means if temperature field is changing with time, okay, in that case what will be happening, at each and every time we will be having different temperatures, and because of that, what will be happening, when we will be changing the location from one point to another point, then we will be having change of temperature, and we will not be able to determine the whole profile of the entire length at a given instant. Okay. And another important drawback will be coming, that while we will be moving the thermocouple, what will be happening, each and every measurement device has some rise time or response time which it takes to give certain output. Okay, so while we are moving, we have to always take care of this thing, that we are giving sufficient time for the device to get stabilized reading at any particular location. Okay, so why I asked this question, because while you people answered this question or attempted to answer this question, that how many thermocouples are needed, you have not thought of theoretical principles. Okay. So if you fundamentally see, this is nothing but, this is a problem of one dimensional heat conduction. So what we are having, this is nothing but a problem of one dimensional heat conduction. Do you all agree with this, that it is a problem of 1D heat conduction? Considering that heat transfer in other directions is negligible. Okay. So if it's a problem of 1D heat conduction, in that case, what will be happening? If I consider that my heat transfer process is nothing but steady state. Okay. So in that case, already we know that our temperature profile will be nothing but given by our which law? Fourier law of heat
Real of
conduction,
heat conduction.
which tells that heat flux is nothing but minus K times dt by dx. Now I have told that we are having a fluid medium. If we consider it as a continuous medium, and if we consider that effect of temperature on thermal conductivity is negligible, in that case the thermal conductivity of the fluid will be nothing but constant. Okay, so it means that theoretically, if you see, our temperature profile within the fluid is nothing but having what type of profile? What is the type of the profile? We are having a linear profile. Clear? This point is clear? Or anyone is having doubt? Inderpal, you want to say something?
No, sir, clear.
Okay. So now if you see,
Sir,
yeah,
here we have also assumed steady state.
yes, yes, yes.
So how can we tackle that?
Sorry.
How can we tackle the situation where the flow is transient?
No. What I have, so at present, what I am saying, that we are talking of a steady state situation. Okay. So yeah, so for steady state situation, whatever the solution you presented, that will be working, but that will be having one issue, which specifically I talked about, the rise time of the sensor and stabilization time, response time. Okay, so we have to wait at a particular location and let the signal to stabilize, and then only we can ensure that our reading is correct. Okay, so if we now consider the steady state situation, we know that for one dimensional heat conduction with steady state, if I plot temperature versus x, it will be nothing but a straight line. Okay, so it means we all know that mathematically the equation of straight line can be represented with the help of two data points. Okay, so if we slightly apply our fundamental knowledge or theoretical knowledge, we will be immediately getting that if we have to measure the temperature profile, we require how many thermocouples? Only 2. Is this point clear? This point is clear or anyone is having doubt?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So it means what was the main objective to show this example? So the sole purpose was to explain you that while we are going for the experimentation, we need not to go blindly that okay, let me fix 10 thermocouples over here, or let me fit one thermocouple, or let me go for 5 pressure transducers. So we have to first examine the problem from the theoretical aspects, and we have to try to infer some information from there. That okay, theoretically, if we take our test facility, whatever we are having, if we analyze it from the theoretical understanding, whatever you are having, so what is the uh, physics of this problem, and depending upon that, you have to decide that what type of instrumentation will be employed. Okay, so this is a very important point, that while we go for the experiments, generally without thinking of the theoretical laws or our basic understanding, we just decide okay, my length of the pipe is 1 meter, let me fix 10 thermocouples at a distance of 10 centimeter each. Okay, so means randomly we will be putting something. But if we go theoretically, so over here you can see that if our situation is steady state, in that case we need not to go for 10 thermocouples or 5 thermocouples, only 2 will be serving our purpose. Okay, this point is clear. Now let me once again give one more example, which is nothing but a slight extension of this one. So over here now what I have done, I have a tube, and let us consider that in this tube water is flowing, and from the periphery of this tube, what we are having, we are having a condition of constant heat flux. So from here, some heat flux is supplied, which is constant. Say I can write, for example, 50 watt per meter square. And this fluid is flowing over here. Now what I have to do, I have to determine the temperature profile of this fluid. So temperature of fluid, I have to plot as function of x. What will be happening? How many thermocouples will be needed now? Once again, let us consider that if I have to determine the average temperature of the fluid, it means I am considering or taking one assumption that temperature profile of the fluid is uniform. It means temperature at each and every point over the cross section of the surface is same. Okay, so that is one fundamental assumption I am including over here. Now, based on this, can you answer that how many thermocouples will be required if we consider that we are having fully developed laminar flow inside the pipe? Yes, Indrapal, you would like to answer, or Devasri, I think.
Sir, two.
2. Why?
Sir, we can consider a control volume,
Okay.
making a rectangle, and at each x points of the control volume, we can put the
When we
sensors.
take the assumption of the control volume, we consider that dimension of our volume is very small. Over here, say my length of the pipe is 1 meter, or say 2 meter, 10 meter. In that case, what we will do? Abhishek, you want to attempt once again? So for this, let me explain you. Probably, I think Abhishek, you are now only studying the heat transfer course, so you are not knowing about this thing. But others, I think those who have already taken the course on heat transfer, they might be knowing that if we plot the temperature of fluid as function of x in the fully developed region, when we are having constant heat flux case, our temperature profile is nothing but, so this is temperature of the fluid as function of x. So our temperature profile is basically linear. So as we are having the linear temperature profile in the fully developed region, so here also if we employ two thermocouples, these will be serving our purpose. This point is clear or anyone is having doubt? Okay, so if this is clear to all, now let me give the next situation. So what we are having in the next situation, flow behavior is exactly same. Only thing I have modified over here, instead of having constant heat flux, now I have given over here constant surface temperature condition. So if we consider the temperature of this surface is constant, and let us consider that temperature of surface is more in comparison to the temperature of the fluid. So now in this case, how many thermocouples will be needed? Anyone would like to answer? Those who have already taken heat transfer course and even convective heat transfer.
One.
Okay, so over here, because you have not taken heat transfer course, so you will not be able to answer it correctly. So if we see for this type of situation, what we are having, if I plot temperature over here and x over here, so let me first plot the surface temperature. This is nothing but the temperature of the surface, which is constant. So it will not be varying with x. And if our temperature of surface is more in comparison to the temperature of the fluid, in that case, what will be happening? There will be flow of heat from the surface to the fluid. And when heat is being added to the fluid, the temperature of the fluid will be increasing as it will be moving along the length of the pipe. So it means if this is the initial temperature of the fluid, we will be finding the temperature of the fluid will be increasing in this fashion. Okay, and over here, if you try to see, the nature of this temperature profile is nothing but exponential. Okay, so it means because of the exponential nature, we will be finding that initially we will be having rapid increase of temperature, and then as we will be moving further along the length of the pipe, the change in temperature field will be slowly decreasing. Okay, so it means that during the initial portion, we require more closely spaced thermocouples. So here thermocouples should be closely spaced so that we are able to determine the rapid change of temperature with the length. And over here now we may require the thermocouples, and these thermocouples may be slightly having more spacing in comparison to the initial portion of the pipe. Okay, and over here, if we talk about total number of thermocouples, so once again, here I cannot give you directly that, okay, what should be the exact number, but one thing we have to ensure that when we are moving from one thermocouple to another thermocouple, there should not be very significant change of the temperature, because if we are having very large change of the temperature, then it may happen that we may not be appropriately able to find out the temperature profile. Okay, so we should have some sort of trade-off between the cost. So cost means in purchasing the number of thermocouples and in terms of the accuracy of the experimental results, whatever we will be getting. Is this point is clear, or anyone is having any doubt? Anyone is having any doubt till this point? Okay, so over here you can just, my only sole purpose was to give this example that while you have seen that we are having the constant heat flux heating of the fluid, because we know the physical nature of the this process is nothing but linear, or physical nature of the temperature profile is linear as per our theoretical understanding. And when we are going for the constant temperature condition, you will be finding from the physical situation that things are almost looking like same, that we are having the heating of the fluid um, from the surface. But while we are going into the temperature profile, theoretically it has changed completely. So because of which now our requirement of the experimental instruments or measurements has also changed. Okay, so that is something that while we are going for the design of the experiments, or while we are going for any type of measurements, we should not blindly fix any number of equipment irrespective of the physics of the problem. Rather, first we should have some basic understanding about that system, and then we should decide that okay, how to design that instrumentation and what should be the uh, accuracy of the measurements which we are considering in our data analysis. Okay, so that is one point. Now, one small example I would like to give over here. So now let me show you one thing, that how our wrong measurements can give us some errors in our control of some physical systems. For example, if I consider say this is my container, and in this container I am adding certain amount of heat. So Q amount of heat is being added, and inside this container say I am having some water. Okay, and what I want to do, I want to maintain the temperature of this water to 70 degrees Celsius, and say my initial temperature of water was 25 degrees Celsius. Now what we have to do, because I have to change the temperature from 25 to 70, and over here I am adding certain amount of heat, and say this heat is being added with the help of one electric heater. So this is nothing but my electric heater over here, which is providing the heat into the water. So now what we have to do, when our temperature of water is becoming identical to that of 70, immediately at that point we have to stop the heater. And if I consider the situation that my system is not fully isolated, that there are certain heat losses from this container, so in that case what will be happening, uh, once the system has reached at 70 degrees Celsius, once again there will be certain loss of heat to the surrounding, and there may be fall of temperature. So but our objective is to maintain the system exactly at the 70 degrees Celsius. So once there is a fall in temperature, after that once again also heater should start, and ultimately we should get a bulk mean temperature of around 70 degrees Celsius. Okay, so what type of instrumentation you think that will be required for this system? Anyone would like to answer? That if we are having a container which we want to maintain at certain temperature, and there is some loss to surroundings also, so what type of instrumentation will be required?
Sir, one thermocouple for the sensing part, then
Okay.
a microcontroller or a logical switch, which will be switching on and off the heater. So we
Okay.
can have a tolerance of about 0.5 degrees. So
Okay.
if it is going to 69.5, we can switch it on, go to
Okay.
70.5 and then switch it off. Then
Okay.
when in between that we can keep fluctuating.
Now my just one question is, how you have decided that fluctuation of 0.5 will be serving the purpose?
Sir, we thought of a bulk mean temperature.
Mhm.
So I've not thought of any particular thing like that. Less than 10% or something should be fine. Not 10%, sir, less than 1% that would still be 0.5. 0.7 would be that.
Okay.
So then based on the cost and sensitivity, we can figure out. The
Okay.
thermocouples rise in that time also can be taken into account.
Okay. Okay. So you have answered a few things correctly. So we require a thermocouple. Now a single thermocouple will be only applicable if our system is following lumped capacitance analysis. So probably to Abhishek, this term may be new. So what we do in lumped capacitance analysis, over here we consider that we are not having the variation of temperature as function of space. So temperature is only varying as function of time. Okay. So if our entire medium is not having variation of temperature field, with the space. In that case, single thermocouple will be serving the purpose. Otherwise, if our temperature is varying with space, we may have to include over here more than one thermocouples. Okay, depending upon the physical situation. For example, the location of the heater and the amount of water which is above the heater level. So depending upon all these situations. And one thing also, Nikhil has correctly answered that we also require nothing but one control circuit. So we should have some control circuit. What it will be doing, it will be sensing the temperature and it will be comparing with some set value of temperature. That if temperature is below the set value, then heater will be switched on, and if it is reaching to the set value, then heater, or above the set value, in case heater will be actually switched off. Okay, so that will be the part of the control circuit. Now how it does that we will try to see further in this course, but today the whole idea was to first show you the need of experimentation, that what is the need and why, or what are the different things that we have to take care while designing our experimental setup. So we should not blindly think of by considering the physical situation, okay, that in my 1 meter length, if I can accommodate 15 thermocouples, let me put 15 over here. Okay, because that is something which will not be always possible. For example, if you have to experiment with the boiler, that you need certain steam rate from the boiler, say 50 kg per centimeter square or meter square. So you cannot do that, okay, initially let me take 1 meter cell size of the boiler, then let me test it with 1 meter length, then okay, it is coming less, now let me take 2 meter length. So that is something which is not possible. Okay, so for small systems you can go for this type of hit and trials, and once something which for example your problem is involving something for which there is no theoretical background available, for that kind of thing you can once again go for this type of thing where you will be doing multiple trials in order to obtain the final output. But that is something which will not be always possible for all the physical systems. Okay, because there may be certain experiments which requires significant amount of equipments or instrumentation. So for that much instrumentation, you may not have sufficient funding available. And one important parameter is also there, that it is not always that, okay, we have to consider that the cost is a sole parameter while designing the experiment. Time is also one important factor, that we should not waste our time in doing unnecessary certain things for which we already are having some well established principles. Okay, so this point is clear.
Yes, sir.
So probably I think over here in this lecture I have not discussed anything from the content. The sole purpose was to give to take few examples and give you the brief overview of the course, that what we will be doing in this course. So at the end of the course we will be able to achieve or reach a stage where you all will be in a position to design experimental system, particularly for the thermal engineering related experiments. Okay. So any doubt you are having with the content? Whatever I have discussed today.
The previous example of temperature, this curve, exponential curve. Sir,
Yes.
should not the temperature be also dependent on the y-axis?
That's the once again the assumption I told you, that what I am considering,
Okay,
particularly
so
if you
uniform.
yeah. Yes, in the y direction it's not changing. Anything else? Okay, so what I will do now, with this I will stop over here, and I am not sure about tomorrow's lecture if I will be able to conduct or not. So particularly about tomorrow's lecture, I will communicate you all in the morning. Otherwise from Monday onwards, then we will be having the regular lectures. And lecture timing I have kept 6 to 7, and days are selected Monday, Tuesday, Friday and Saturday. Anyone is having any issue with the lecture timings?
Sir, can we have 5 to 6?
Uh, Others are okay with 5 to 6. No, 5 to 6 is actually once again difficult because I am recording from my office only. Actually in the surroundings other people are getting disturbed. So that's why I am trying to
Okay,
keep it
sir,
in
no
the
problem.
alternate.
No problem.
Others are okay with this timing?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so probably tomorrow's lecture, I think I am not sure that we will be having. If we are having tomorrow's lecture, then I'll be communicating you tomorrow in the morning. Okay, and in today's lecture, because this was a very general introduction, so here I have actually gone in the interactive mode. So from next lecture onwards, first what I will do at least for 40 or 50 minutes, I'll be continuously speaking about the content of the course, and it will be recorded, and then after that I will be discussing your queries. So what you can do that you can note it down or you can post your queries in the chat box. Okay. So now if you are not having any other query, then I'll stop this lecture over there.